Zinoha calls, hear the sound, a place where harmony is found. Nature and hearts beat as one, under the moon and rising sun.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're digging into a stack of sources today, looking at this interesting concept, experiential living societies.
And specifically, a project called Zinoha. We've got various documents here laying out the vision, the location, all the features they're proposing.
Right, so the plan is to really unpack what these sources say Zinoha is all about, where it is, the key ideas, basically giving the rundown straight from the material we have.
Exactly. It's a shortcut to understanding this project.
Yeah.
Just based on these documents. A way to get the essence without wading through everything yourself.
Okay, let's dive in then. The big picture first. How do these sources actually, define Zinoha? What is it?
Well, they talk about it as a series of these experiential living societies. Sometimes they just call them gated communities.
Experiential living societies.
And the core mission, what they state up front, is about promoting blissful and experiential living. And they're pretty specific about the target audience. Individuals who, and this is their phrase, value their lives more than livelihoods.
That phrasing really catches your attention, doesn't it? Value their lives more than livelihoods.
It does. It suggests a real shift in priorities.
Like a conscious choice to step away from the usual metrics of success.
Absolutely. It's positioned as, an escape from the everyday grind, a way to reconnect with nature, embrace what they're calling pure living.
Pure living. Interesting. And how do they achieve that? Is there a specific formula mentioned?
Yeah, they break it down into a blend of three things: wellness, farming, and habitat.
Okay. Wellness, farming, habitat.
The idea is that this is where conscious living meets serenity.
Yeah.
It's designed, they say, to be a sanctuary for the senses, to kind of flow with the rhythm of life.
So these three pillars are really the foundation of the whole experience they're trying to create.
That's the picture they paint, yes.
Yeah.
Health, connection to the land, and the actual living space, all working together.
Got it. So that clarifies the what's. This focus on experience, wellness, nature. Prioritizing life itself. Now, the where. Location seems absolutely critical for something like this. Where do the sources say Zinoha is?
It's in Maharashtra, specifically the Sindhudurg district.
Okay.
They describe it as nestled along the Konkan coast, just north of Goa. They even say it's on the cusp of South Maharashtra and North Goa.
On the cusp, that's quite evocative. And Sindhudurg itself, how is it portrayed in these documents? What's the vibe they're going for?
Oh, they make it sound like a proper coastal paradise. Unspoiled beaches, lush landscapes,
Right.
vibrant local culture, but also this serene ambiance. They explicitly set it up as a peaceful alternative to, say, the busier parts of Goa.
So deliberately contrasting it with Goa to highlight tranquility. Less hustle, maybe.
Exactly. Less commercial, perhaps. And they mentioned that the state government, the government of Maharashtra, has officially declared Sindhudurg a tourism destination.
Yeah.
They summarize it as an untouched paradise where nature, heritage, and opportunity meet. So, good for retreat, but also, they hint, good for investment.
And they don't just leave it at paradise, do they? They list specific nearby attractions and developments to show it's connected.
No, they definitely list things out.
Yeah.
Let's see. Tsunami Island, the new Amopi airport, that's a big one, and Boligat and Waterfalls, Talari Conservation Reserve.
Okay, lots of natural beauty.
Yeah, plus the famous Malvani cuisine, the historical Sindhudurg fort, existing luxury hotels and villas, the Konkan railway line, Vengurla Beach, local crafts, Sawantwadi's forests, and crucially, the upcoming Konkan Expressway.
Wow. Okay, so it's a mix of nature, culture, existing infrastructure, and future development.
Precisely. They're trying to show it's beautiful and serene, but not totally isolated. It's accessible.
And this seems to lead into their argument about Sindhudurg being a place with real growth potential. They back this up with specific markers, right? The opportunity aspect.
Right. They do. And it's interesting how they tie Zinoha's location to these big infrastructure pushes. Like the new Goa International Airport, Amopo.
Yeah.
That's a massive 2,600 crore investment.
Huge.
And the sources explicitly say it's driving tourism, connectivity, and development in both Goa and Sindhudurg.
And there's more connected to that airport. An Arosity.
Yes, a planned Arosity nearby, covering 232 acres apparently, meant for hotels, resorts, convention centers, Big plans.
Okay.
Plus, they point to North Goa getting 2 new IT parks. The implication is more jobs, more demand for land, spilling over into Sindhudurg.
So it's not just tourism driving the growth narrative, it's potentially other economic factors too.
That seems to be the angle. They also mentioned luxury resorts opening nearby Sarovar Portico, Taj supposedly just 20 minutes away from the project. And there's specific mention of over 155 crore invested by Nashik and Sindhudurg districts just to boost tourism infrastructure there.
And the really big one you mentioned earlier.
The Konkan Expressway. Yeah, that's a 26,000 crore project, a 498-kilometer Mumbai-Goa marine superhighway. They say work is started. That's a game changer for connectivity.
Definitely.
They also throw in details like new flights starting Pune to Goa, Pune to Sindhudurg, and the Tata Group, with Taj Hotels, setting up a big 5-star tourist center in Sindhudurg, covering 54 hectares.
So it's a layered argument. Infrastructure, investment, big brands moving in, and they even add some, social proof, celebrity buzz.
A little bit, yeah. They mentioned Sachin Tendulkar celebrated his 50th birthday at a farm stay there, suggesting it's getting noticed.
Right.
And there's this comparison they make, framing Sindhudurg as the answer to all Goa problems when Goa tourism hits a snag. It's clearly positioning it.
So if you put all these pieces together, the airport, expressway, IT parks, hotels, the celebrity mention, what's the ultimate takeaway the sources want you to have about Sindhudurg's potential?
They basically wrap it up as a vivid confluence of nature, luxury, and unrivaled investment possibilities.
That's quite a statement.
It is. The message is clear. Long-term value potential here, directly tied to better connectivity and road networks. They even use the phrase, decoding Sindhudurg's real estate transformation. It's presented as an emerging hotspot.
Okay, a powerful pitch connecting serenity with serious development. So we've got the concept wellness, farming, habitat, life over livelihood, and the location, this transforming Sindhudurg. What about life inside Zinoha? What's the day-to-day experience supposed to feel like based on these sources?
They paint a very curated picture, waking up to birdsong, surrounded by green, calm.
Sounds nice.
Starting the day with yoga, maybe some Ayurvedic care, taking in the seasonal farms around you, joining neighbors for community stuff. It's all about conscious living as a tangible thing, rooted in the place.
Very integrated. Daily life intertwined with nature and community. And they list a ton of amenities to support this, right? Maybe we can break those down. Wellness seems huge.
Oh, definitely, front and center. They talk about a dedicated wellness zone, calm, restorative. It's got yoga pavilions, magnesium pools.
Magnesium pools. Interesting.
Yeah, and Ayurvedic therapies. Importantly, they mention AWH certified care, which ties into traditional Indian medicine systems.
Right. Ayurveda, yoga.
Exactly. Then there are things like dark and soundproof rooms for sensory rest, I guess, centralized music therapy, copper-based earthing.
Copper-based earthing.
Yeah, specific meditation and yoga spaces, Shinrin-yoku, that's Japanese forest bathing.
Ah, I've heard of that.
And even foot reflexology pebble roads, plus a wellness center run by experts. It's pretty extensive.
Way beyond a typical gym. Very holistic. Okay, what about the nature and eco-friendly side? How is that built in?
Well, they emphasize integrating and preserving nature. Things like permaculture gardens, sustainable food systems mimicking nature, aquaponics, water bodies, orchards, aromatic plants using native species.
Okay.
Regenerative agriculture is mentioned as a practice.
Yeah.
And on the eco side, activated charcoal filters, composting zones, recycling programs, big focus on water conservation, rainwater harvesting.
Makes sense for a nature-focused place.
And the buildings themselves described as eco-conscious architecture, using sustainable materials designed to blend in. And they even mentioned eco-friendly transport. Shared electric vehicles at the clubhouse. 1 EV for every 15 plots, they say.
That's very specific. Shows practical thinking behind the eco label. What about community? Is it just living nearby or more organized?
Seems much more structured.
Yeah.
They mentioned an amphitheater, community spaces for celebrations, storytelling, cultural exchange.
Nice.
Resident committees, cultural ambassadors, open lawns, gathering zones, a community clubhouse for events, leisure, connection.
Just fostering interaction.
Yes, and community gardens for organic farming, sharing the produce. They call it the Wellness Farm Habitat. And this space called Gurukul, developed with an organization, Aravindam, for experiencing Indian classical arts, dance, music, martial arts.
Wow, classical arts too. That adds another layer.
Yeah, the sources really stress building a community focused on shared growth and meaningful connections.
Okay. And practical stuff, like day-to-day practicalities.
They mentioned secure staff quarters. Private, gated, providing comfort and security for the staff working there. On-site support.
important for a community like this.
And they say residents have the option to build their own house using sustainable elements. And interestingly, state houses are available at a nominal cost, which might suggest the main investment is the plot and the community access.
Okay. And any mention of how it integrates with the wider local community?
Yes, they make a point of saying over 60% of the workforce comes from local communities.
Okay.
And they frame this as creating opportunities through employment, training, inclusion. They call it real estate with purpose, where prosperity is shared. So positioning it as a benefit to the local area, too.
Great. So a very detailed picture of the intended lifestyle. Now, the sources also get specific about one particular project, ZA2.
That's right. ZA2 is mentioned as the next gated society in the series.
And it's in the same general Sindhudurg area.
Yep, located in Sindhudurg, again described as being on that cusp of South Maharashtra and North Goa.
And are there, like, size and plot numbers for ZA2?
They give some specifics. Over 20 acres in size, planned for 150-plus plots, and including over 100 staff quarters with basic amenities.
Okay. And distances, how far is it from key points?
They provide those, too. Let's see, 9 to 21 minutes from 5 different beaches, 3.4 kilometers from the state highway, MSH4, 16 kilometers from the nearest railway station, 21 kilometers from Sindhudurg Airport, and 55 kilometers from the OPA International Airport in Goa.
Got it. That gives a clearer sense of its actual location within the region.
Puts it on the map, yeah.
Now, one crucial thing to mention, and the sources are upfront about this, these are plans, and plans can change. There's a disclaimer.
Absolutely. A standard but important disclaimer is included. Essentially, it says the plans, specs, images, all that stuff.
Yeah.
It's indicative. It's a proposal.
Okay.
The developer or owner has the right to change things, subject to getting the necessary approvals.
And the document itself isn't a binding offer.
Correct. It clarifies it's not an offer or a legal commitment. Artists' impressions are just impressions, no guarantee of the final look. And costs, designs, facilities, all subject to change without notice.
So we're just relaying the information presented in these source materials.
Exactly. Just reporting what's written down here.
Okay. So let's pull back then. Taking this deep dive into the sources on Zinoha, what have we seen?
Well, we've seen Zinoha presented with this very clear vision. Intentional, conscious living. A blend of wellness, farming, and habitat.
Rooted in that idea of valuing life over livelihood, and it's set in Sindhudurg, a region portrayed by these sources as really transforming, balancing its natural beauty with some pretty major infrastructure development and growth potential.
Yeah, it's framed as this escape, this path to serenity, connected to nature and community, but located in a place that the sources are really highlighting for future growth and investment possibility.
It's quite a combination, which leads to a final thought maybe for you listening. Given this specific mix we've unpacked from the sources, ancient practices like Ayurveda and Shinrin-yoku alongside modern sustainable tech, all in this emerging region, what does this whole concept of an experiential living society like Zinoha suggest about perhaps the future possibilities for how and where we might choose to live?
It definitely offers a different kind of model to think about, doesn't it?
It certainly does. Something to consider. Thanks for joining us on The Deep Dive.